Eyes peeled, everyone. Welcome to the Full 10 Yards Fantasy Football Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the latest edition of the Full 10 Yards Fantasy Podcast. And as you can see, we are live. So we teased you earlier in the week that we might be doing this Sunday live broadcast. And here we are. So as ever, you're joined by me, your host, David. And we've also got in the room Adil and Rob. So Adil, how are you doing?
I'm very well. How was your Kamarismus?
Oh dear, there's number one, so we can get the first one off the checklist. Yeah.
Did you get all of your memories on your Kamara?
Yes, yeah. There's number two. So yeah. And Rob, how are you doing?
I'll be better once Diddy finishes this little spat off. I tell you that.
Hey, look, to be fair to him, he did promise us that he had some puns up his sleeve. So, of course.
I know why. It's because he's got Kamara in one of his leagues against me in the final. That's why.
Yeah, and what a performance it was from Kamara. Obviously, he is referring to the Christmas Day performance. It was the Saints against the Vikings, and Kamara had a historic game in that he scored 6 rushing touchdowns. First time since 1929. A player scored 6 rushing touchdowns in a single game. And of course, fantasy championships, what a performance for Alvin Kamara. It was his first 100-plus yard rushing performance of the season. And it was a career rushing day for him as well on the ground. So a fantastic day from Alvin Kamara. And I think if you had him in your lineup, you've won your matchup pretty much already. And then especially if you had Evans as well yesterday, a fantastic performance from him. So there is plenty to get to. Obviously, 6 o'clock is fast approaching, and we have got a big slate of fantasy games for this week. So let's dive straight in. And we will start with the Carolina Panthers and the Washington football team. It is going to be cold and cloudy in this one, but it should be fine. Christian McCaffrey on the Panthers side of the ball is doubtful, of course, with his thigh injury. I'm not expecting to see him again in this one. So Mike Davis should be the lead back for Carolina again. But on the Washington football side of things, Scary Terry is doubtful with an ankle injury. Antonio Gibson, although he's questionable with a toe injury, is expected to play. And Alex Smith, quarterback, is questionable with a calf injury. So who are we going to be seeing at quarterback in this one, Rob?
Logan Thomas. No, I had no idea. Is it Heineke's the backup there? Is he? So we'll see.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. Obviously, Dwayne Haskins is on the naughty list. Alex Smith is questionable. We've got Heineke, Logan Thomas there, so it really does remain to be seen. So Adil, what are you looking out for in this one? Really, I don't think it's going to yield too many fantasy points. I think it's going to be a low scoring affair. This one, I can't imagine there's going to be too many standout performers.
The only stand-up performer is probably Logan Thomas. Irrespective of who the quarterback's going to be, he's just going to be fed the ball. I don't even know if Mike Davis is a surefire start this week because they don't seem to use him as much when CMC is out, unlike his first few weeks that they had. Like the first few weeks, he was money, and then he kind of hasn't been amazing. Or they haven't let him be amazing.
No, Washington aren't exactly giving up the most points to the running back position. 15.5 points per game in half PPR leagues ranks them as 27th in the league. So it's not like it's a great matchup for him either. Washington aren't giving fantasy points up anywhere, really. It's the 25th most against the quarterback position and 31st most against the wide receiver position. So I'm not really keen on starting any Carolina Panther in this one. The best matchup for them is at the tight end position, and Ian Thomas, you're not starting him in your fantasy championship week either. So if we quickly flip on the other side, Antonio Gibson, if he plays, he starts with a fantasy team because Carolina have been giving up a lot of points to the position all season. And of course, Antonio Gibson is a great play. JD McKissick as well at the running back position in PPR leagues. I do like him there. But similarly, if McLaurin is going to be out, I think Logan Thomas is the only other player that I am wanting to start in this side from Washington. So am I wrong there? Is anyone disagreeing? Is there any other starts in this one?
DJ Moore, maybe in the full PPR. That's about it.
Yeah.
We're still not feeling great about it. So the next game up, and of course we have got our two Indianapolis fans on the podcast here with us, is the Colts and the Steelers. Another 6 p.m. game that is set to be mild and clear. Colts have no new injury concerns headed into this one, but the Steelers are without their kicker, Chris Boswell, and Anthony McFarland is questionable with illness. So I'm not going to trample on anything here, although I do think it will be similar to the Panthers-Washington game in that it's going to be low scoring. Adil, do you want to take us away as as one of the two resident Colts fans with this one?
There are two major injuries on the offensive line for the Colts.
Sorry, I meant skill position, but yeah.
Yeah, but that will have a massive impact on run blocking and pass protection. So Anthony Costanzo, I don't know if he's completely out yet, but I know that Braden Smith is at right tackle. So left tackle Anthony Costanzo, who is key to this pass protection as well. It's going to be different. I think it's not going to be an easy game for Colts, even though they're turning towards being favourites for this game just because of this offensive line issue. I know that the Steelers are going to struggle probably again on offense. So I wouldn't be starting any of their players. I'm not starting Connor in the fantasy championship that I have. The only player that from this game that I deem start worthy is Jonathan Taylor. Everybody else is a sit.
What about Eugene, Rob? Are you starting Eugene?
I don't know. I'd like to. I think in deeper leagues, I certainly will. And I am in one of the leagues starting TY. But Deontay Johnson for me is one who I am starting. Both teams have got pretty good defenses. Obviously, we know the Steelers, for the most part for this season, have been good against the running backs. India good against the running backs. They're both really good against tight ends. So it's going to be the wide receivers, I think, from Pittsburgh. And obviously, you can't trust Juju because of what's happened this season, especially recently. But I'll echo Dilly and I'll say that Jonathan Taylor is probably the start of this game. I think he's been building up some steam, and he's been building up his quality, and I can't wait for him to cement his role. And it comes again today. I think he'll have another good game. I think he'll need to, as Dilly has mentioned, Costanzo out, Braden Smith. That's a lot of pass protection. Sort of gone from that offensive line. So despite the running backs needing obviously the O-line as well, I think that we're going to go through Taylor today.
Yeah, and I think he's done well to have this schedule of easy matchups for him in the last 5 or 6 weeks because he's earned that trust. He's earned that role in the offense. And if we'd have had this Pittsburgh game 6 weeks ago, I think we'd have been sat here saying not to start him because of his performance so far and his inability to trust him, especially against this Pittsburgh running defense. But I think he's earned his place to start in championships this week. And I'm not going to say he's matchup proof. Let's not get crazy, but I think it was certainly in a decent position. And we have seen players have good games against the Steelers run defense. They are not completely matchup proof.
They're there for the taking today.
They are.
I mean, we'll be. Unfortunately, Steelers are the Colts bogey team. We tend to lose every time we play the Steelers, but hopefully this time the tide will turn. Obviously, we're in a good vein of form. They're in a poor vein of form. Hopefully, we can absolutely chance them, but we'll see, I guess, in a few hours.
Yeah, exactly, indeed. We will just say good morning to our good friend Chris Robin. Chris, how are you doing? Yes. It wasn't the best Christmas present for Chris last night with the Detroit game, but hopefully we will see a much better season for them next year with the new regime changes, etc. So thank you for joining us, Chris. Okay, we head over to the Falcons and the Chiefs, and this one I think could be a little bit of a trap. So with the Steelers falling off a little bit in the last couple of weeks, the Chiefs now are almost guaranteed the number one seed, the bye week, etc., etc. So it could be a case of we run up a big lead in this game by halftime, and we actually see the likes of Mahomes benched at halftime in this one, which we have seen previously this season. Particularly with Tyreek Hill questionable with a hamstring, I don't think they're gonna want to run him too many times if he's got tightness there. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, as we know, is already out with an ankle injury, as is Julio Jones on the other side of the ball with a hamstring injury, and Brandon Powell is questionable with a foot there. So the Chiefs, I honestly think we could see quite a few of the starters benched at halftime. Is that outrageous to say, or will the Falcons just roll over and let the Chiefs take this one?
I can't see it being far off what you're saying there. I think the Chiefs are going to absolutely batter the Falcons. But Chiefs are good against. The Falcons are pretty good against running backs. So I think the Chiefs are going to get it done in the air. Tyreek Hill's probably going to have another 200-yard game. Travis Kelce, it's going to be fantastic again, I'm sure. Falcons, for me, Calvin Ridley is the only player really worth anything in that team at the moment, because they're going to be from behind. They're going to be airing the ball out. Matt Ryan's got a good camaraderie with Ridley. Still with Ridley. There we go. And I think he's going to be worth his weight in gold this game. But other than that, I don't think you can start anyone on the Falcons.
Yeah, he's been absolutely fantastic, Calvin Ridley, this year, and he was tipped to have that Chris Godwin breakout season, and we've very much seen that. Adil, thoughts on this one?
In deeper leagues, maybe Russell Gage could be an option because he does tend to get a few targets. Aside from that, it's going to be your three players outside of the QB that you're going to be starting for Kansas City. So that's going to be Kelce, Hill, and I think Le'Veon Bell's the starter this week as well.
Indeed. And we have got a start or sit question. Antonio Gibson. So we did mention him in the previous game, but just to reiterate, if he starts, you start him in your fantasy team, because he will get given the carries against a poor Carolina run defense. So Tom Rom, thanks for getting in touch. If he starts, which we'll find out very soon, he starts for your fantasy team. Okay, moving on to the next game, and we have got the Chicago Bears and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, the Chicago Bears, after the Arizona Cardinals lost to the 49ers last night, are in charge of their own fate when it comes to getting the 7th seed in the NFC playoffs. So the Bears just have to win. I say just have to win. They just have to win both of the next two games, and they are in the playoffs, and you'd like to think that they will do against this Jacksonville Jaguars team. Obviously, the Jags 1-13 coming into this one compared to the Bears, which, to be fair, they're only 7-7. But certainly we'll be looking for that 9-7 finish. So on the Bears side of the ball, Allen Robinson is questionable with a hamstring, but he is expected to play this one. And Cordarrelle Patterson is questionable with a knee injury as well. But on the Jacksonville Jaguars side, it's not such good news for their Robinson, as he is doubtful with an ankle injury, which I think has come as a surprise to quite a few people in this one. He has carried quite a few teams to the fantasy championships, but he is doubtful to be available for this. So that is definitely one to keep out for in the run-up to these games. And Colin Johnson is out with a hamstring injury as well. Of course, he has had a great second half to the season, putting up some big games there, but he is out. So Chicago, the points that they're giving up most to is the tight end position. They're giving this the second most, but it is difficult matchups at quarterback, running back, and wide receiver position for Jacksonville. So obviously now with James Robinson out, is perhaps DJ Chark the only startable guy out of the quarterback, running back, and wide receiver position there now? Or Adil, you're shaking your head. Is not even he startable?
He's been really up and down. I don't think even he's startable in this game. I think maybe you could look at one of the Jacksonville Jaguars running backs for a DFS really cheap line. That's about it.
Right.
Yeah.
There's only one player you're starting on the Jacksonville Jaguars, and you know who it is. Visca.
Laviska Shenault Jr.
So the Bears, where they leak points is to tight ends. Obviously, Jacksonville, I don't think they've even got a tight end. Are they worth mentioning? Tyler Eifert, is he?
Tyler Eifert, yeah. James
Maybe
Richard,
there you go. So Tyler Eifert in your tournament plays on DraftKings. But I would say that Shenault is one of these players that is the dink and dunk kind of players over the middle. Is utilised in a variety of different ways. If James Robinson's out, the wide receivers are shut down by a good Bears secondary. I think Shenault could have some decent production. I don't think he's going to blow the doors off with 150 yards and 4 touchdowns, but I think he's going to have a productive game. So if you're looking for someone, maybe sort of 5 receptions, 60 yards, that sort of a deal, he'll get some rushes as well. Because he can play running back if he wants to. He can play quarterback. He played in the Wildcat a few times for Colorado. So look, he might well be a player that's a utilised player today for Jacksonville. So if there is one player you're starting on Jacksonville, it's Shenault. And if there's one player you want to throw in there for a cheap DFS play on DraftKings, it's Tyler Eifert for the red zone work, if there's red zone work.
Yeah, could be a blowout, this one. And we turn our attention to the Chicago Bears side of things. So Mitch Trubisky, I do like him in this one. As we've mentioned on the pod previously, he seems to have been rejuvenated since getting benched. So I really do like him in this one, especially with Allen Robinson. Darnell Mooney, I think, is a sneaky player in this one, particularly in DFS. I think he's going to be a nice play. And Cole Kmet as well. So speaking of which, we do have a question regarding Cole Kmet. So thoughts on Keke Coutee as a flex? It's the first part of this question for the chosen rows. I like it. I do like it. I would recommend starting Keke Coutee as a flex option there. Rob, that was a face to say you disagree.
No, not at all. I'm just playing with you. See, Tyler Higbee. That was a face for Tyler Higbee because I think he's got quite a good matchup. But the Rams are just so you can't trust the Rams. They are. If you hit, you hit. If you don't, you miss. That makes sense. No, no. For out of those players, it's QT for me. He's looked fine, and obviously, he's going to be benefiting. Will Fuller missing, so QT. I'll stick with him in my flex.
I think it's two questions. To be fair,
sorry. It's out of those 4 tight ends for the tight end position.
Oh, I see. Well, in that case, I'd go Tyler Higbee because I think he's got the best matchup. Johnny Smith has been so... I've been so disappointed with him in the second half of the season. In Njoku, I'm pretty sure... Am I right in saying that the other tight end's back now? Came over from Atlanta. What's his name?
Austin Hooper.
I think he's back now, isn't he? Cole Kmet is still obviously a rookie. I'd go for Tyler Higbee personally. I think he's got a good matchup on paper. It's just whether he's utilised or not.
Yeah, the only thing that I would say about David Njoku is obviously the Browns situation. He is one of very few people who will be catching the ball for the Cleveland Browns this weekend after they have had their top 4 wide receivers ruled out of this one.
Good shout. I forgot about that.
Adil, what are your thoughts on that 4?
I would actually potentially go with David Njoku. Cole Kmet could also be a very good option just due to the Chicago Bears being able to pass a lot and him being a good combination with Trubisky as well. I prefer those 2 over the other 2.
I'm going to change my mind. I'm going to go for Njoku because I forgot about the wide receiver situation in Cleveland. So, yeah.
Yeah, I just think Johnny Smith is too touchdown dependent to be starting with any reliance. So what we just quickly mentioned the Browns. So we will head over to that game now. So it's the Cleveland Browns taking on the New York Jets. And as we've just mentioned, the top 4 wide receivers there. So we've got Donovan Peoples-Jones, Kadarrell Hodge, Rashard Higgins and Jarvis Landry all ruled out. They all have been placed on the reserve COVID list. It's a similar situation to what we had in Denver with the quarterback room. They've all been deemed too close contact, so they've all been ruled out. But thankfully for the Cleveland Browns, it couldn't have happened against a better opponent. Obviously, they're going up against the 1-13 Jets. Now, of course, yes, we know that the Jets won last weekend, but I still think the Browns have got enough power in this one to win it. So obviously, they are going to run the ball as they want to do anyway. With Nick Chubb, I believe it's his 25th birthday today, so many happy returns to Nick Chubb. But with Kareem Hunt there as well, they are just going to run. We're going to see a lot of 2, even 3 tight end sets in this one, which they're going to run the football out of. And I think we could get a little bit of receiving work for Kareem Hunt here. as lined up as a receiver in this one. So does this affect the result of the game? Are the Cleveland Browns going to win this one, Rob?
Yeah, they're going to win it, but I think it's going to be tighter than people think. Just quickly did a bit of research while you're talking there. I'm really on board with Njoku actually. Jets giving up the most points to tight ends. No receivers. Njoku is. Yeah, I'm all on board with that Njoku pick. Now you said that, so I do change my opinion. I think it's going to be 28-23 to Cleveland.
Okay, so 23 points for the New York Jets. Who are scoring those? Because the Jets have just got LaMichael Pirine back off the IR. Ty Johnson's had a decent spell while he's had the carries, and Frank Gore, the the human cockroach as he gets called, is pointing up. So a weird three-headed backfield there. So are we relying on the running backs there, or are we going for the wide receivers, maybe Jameson Crowder?
Yeah, I think it's going to be done in the receiving game. I think they're going to be behind. Here's my prediction: the Browns are going to get up 14-0, and then they're going to come back. Jets are going to come back for the air. Denzel Mims, he's a good little rookie. Denzel Mims, Jameson Crowder, they're the two that are going to get it done. But then they're going to sort of get back in it, and then Cleveland are going to break away again. That's what my prediction is.
Yeah, Braxton Berrios as well. Maybe a sneaky DFS play, as is Marvin Hall. So Tom Rom asking, is Marvin Hall an option? I'm going to say no in your fantasy games, but I think he could be a sneaky DFS play as well because of the price that you'll be able to get for him. So I would not be starting him in your fantasy championships, but DFS, let's go.
PPR, he'll get some throw.
Wonderful, yeah, perfect. So we head over to the first of the latest slate game. Sorry, no, we've got a couple of 6 p.m. games to go to first. So we're going to have the Bengals and the Texans. So two teams here that I really can't call this one. The Texans have fallen off a cliff a little bit with the wide receiver situation that they've had there. They've got Duke Johnson ruled out of this one with a neck injury, which leads me to believe that David Johnson will get all of the backfield work there. And on the Bengals side of the ball, Tyler Boyd has been ruled out with a concussion, and surprise, surprise, Joe Mixon is out with a foot injury. We've already mentioned Kiki Kuti as being a potential flex in this one, but I am really, really struggling to find any other fantasy relevance in this matchup. I'm even starting to get a little bit dubious about starting Deshaun Watson. I think there's better players out there. I'd rather start Mitch Trubisky over Deshaun Watson at this point of the season. Are we starting anybody else? Maybe T. Higgins, perhaps, because the Texans are not great against the wide receiver, but still, quarterback situation for Cincinnati is pretty poor. Are we starting T. Higgins?
T. Higgins, yeah. Brandon Cooks, I would say. T. Higgins, he still somehow manages to get targets and still manages to catch the ball, irrespective of what the quarterback situation is there. And I think that makes him just kind of like a solid floor PPR play. That's about it. No, not much upside because, there is an upside against Houston. So, yeah, I think T. Higgins may still be worth starting.
I'm going to stay in the flames with Gio. Mixon is obviously, like it says, out. The Texans give up the second most fantasy points to running backs. Why not? Why not stay in the flames? He did a fantastic job against a tough Steelers defense. So yes, I'm going to stay in the flames and have a dart thrower at Gio if you're sort of struggling for options at running back, especially in DFS. DraftKings put Gio in, and another player that I'd be throwing a dart at in DraftKings as well is it Jordan Akins, the tight end for Texans. Bengals aren't so great against tight ends. I think the tight ends landscape, I think after last week, I was expecting a big week from the tight ends last week, and they didn't really deliver. So I think that sort of shows that the tight end market in fantasy football is quite open. Jordan Akins could have a good game. I think he's going to be one of the beneficiaries, especially over the middle.
I believe you're starting him against me.
I am indeed. I am indeed. There you go. I see. I do. I back myself. I back myself.
Okay, we've got another question, and this is from OJ Olds. So we need to start 2 out of J.K. Dobbins, Darrell Henderson, Antonio Gibson, and J.D. McKissick. So I am going for J.K. Dobbins and Antonio Gibson if he starts in this one. How about yourself, Rob?
Yeah, I think so. Darrell Henderson is
well. Cam Akers is out, so he's going to get an uptake. But it could easily be a Malcolm Brown game.
The thing is, you can't trust the coach in there because that Sean what's his last name? McVay. He said months ago it's a running back by committee. He wanted to use a 2, 3, 4-headed headed monster at the back there. This is pre-season. Obviously, Akers has been great, but he's out, so it would be an opportunity for Darrell Henderson, but it's a trust issue. You can't trust it. So I'm going to go with Antonio Gibson just because I don't think he plays if they're risking him. If he's risky, what have they got to play for, Washington? I mean, I guess they can still win. Can they still win the division? They're still in it, aren't they?
They're winning the division at the moment.
So they need their best players in, and they need to win this game. So that's the route I'll go down. It's Antonio Gibson is probably their best player on offense. No, he is their best player on offense. So they're going to feed him. So Antonio Gibson is a definite for me. And I like J.K. Dobbins. He's been slowly getting better and better as the season's progressed. So I'd go J.K. and Antonio myself.
Yeah. Okay, and we've got another question, which is from Jake1079. So half PPR, Higgins or McCall Hardman? Has a feeling that Hardman might go off today with Hill nursing a hamstring injury. Yes, so as we previously mentioned, Tyreek Hill is nursing a hamstring injury in this one. If the Chiefs get up early, I don't think we'll see much of Hill from maybe the second half. So Hardman has still got that big play potential as well. Higgins is Rashad, because Rashad's out.
Rashad's out. So I believe it'll be T Higgins. Yeah,
I'm going. I'm going McCall. Let's go for it.
I'm sticking with T.
Ooh.
Rob, split the pack.
Let me just look at T Higgins' last few weeks, and I'll make a decision. Hang on. 56, 49, 31. I'm going to go Mecole Hardman.
Mecole Hardman. So 2-1. Jake does actually agree with us. So fire up McCall. Okay, we'll move on to the next game, and that is the New York Giants at the Baltimore Ravens. It is going to be cold and cloudy, but the New York Giants still firmly in the division race for the NFC East, and the Baltimore Ravens are scrapping for a playoff place as well. So this could low-key be a really, really decent game, and the New York Giants aren't actually yielding that many points to anywhere on the fantasy position. Running back is far and away the position that they're giving the most points to, which goes back to our previous question with J.K. Dobbins being the recommended start. And Baltimore aren't giving up too many points either. So this could be a decent defensive game of football, which from a fantasy perspective isn't great. Hollywood Brown is questionable with a knee injury. Des Bryant is questionable with a thigh injury. Daniel Jones is expected to play, even though he's coming back from his ankle and hamstring injury. Golden Tate is ruled out of this one. So I'm starting Wayne Gallman because he's going to get the majority of carries. Devonta Freeman isn't back yet. And even though it is a tough Baltimore run defense, Gallman just has a knack of getting his way into the end zone. So I am starting Gallman in this one. But apart from that, I'm not liking anybody else on the New York Giants side of the ball. And then really, apart from Lamar Jackson, who of course you are starting, and J.K. Dobbins at the running back position, Mark Andrews, you definitely started Mark Andrews, but I'm not liking any of the wide receiver options there in Baltimore. So, Rob, Adil, any other starters that we can see out of there, or is it just the Gorman, Andrews, Dobbins, and Lamar?
Yeah, I think you've pretty much nailed it. I'm expecting a defensive game. I think Jackson could get going on the ground. So, but yeah, like you said, both teams are pretty good defensively at the moment. So I expect it to be a bit of a defensive battle.
Yeah, and under normal circumstances, I'd expect Daniel Jones to get going a little bit on the ground, but we've seen him try that in the last couple of times that he's tried to play, and that hamstring is bothering him. He's not looking explosive on the ground, so I am reluctant to start him in any format. Adil, any other differences there?
I think we're all aligned on those on this game. Actually, there aren't that many options, and the options that are available are pretty obvious.
Perfect. So, Ultra Pack, I don't have a lot of options at wide receiver 2, so I need help. The options that I have are Chad Hansen, Jalen Reagor, Greg Ward, Guyton, or Marvin Hall, or Hardman. So that is quite a few options. But there isn't a real standout one there. We've already mentioned Houston. I think Cooks and Kuti are going to be the top 2 guys there. Hansen has had a couple of nice games, but I'd be leaning on him DFS, but not necessarily in your fantasy games. I like Reagor here. Out of those guys, it's a toss-up between him and Hardman, in my opinion. But they'll be the 2 guys. What about yourself, Adil? Who out of those guys are you going for?
I think so. The same. Jalen Reagor seems like the Guyton has a huge upside, but the likelihood of him getting catches is quite low. Jalen Reagor could be fed a bit, so I think him.
And what about yourself, Rob? Out of those guys,
Jalen Reagor is not doing it for me this year at all. But he's got a great matchup, so it could be good. I'm going to stick with Hardman. I think Hardman's going to have a good game. I think, like I said, I think Kansas City are going to blow the doors off today. So I think Hardman could be for a good game. So I'm going to stick Hardman. My number 2 would be Chad Hansen, and then Reagor would be my number 3. So that's where I'm leaning.
Perfect. Okay, so we head into the latest slate of games, and we'll start with the Denver Broncos and the Los Angeles Chargers. Both 5-9, both scrapping at the bottom of the AFC West. This is a pretty meaningless game only from a draft order perspective. But on the Denver Broncos side of things, Philip Lindsay is out with a hip/knee injury, and Royce Freeman is questionable with a hip, which fire up Melvin Gordon. He's going to have a game with no competition there against his former team, might I add. So he's going back to Los Angeles against his former team. Los Angeles aren't doing too great against the run, so Melvin Gordon is absolutely my start of the game in this one. And we look on the other side, Keenan Allen is doubtful with a hamstring injury, and Hunter Henry is out with an undisclosed injury. So I'm wondering if
I thought he flicked up with COVID on Steeper. I think is down as COVID.
Okay. I got him on ESPN as undisclosed, so not too sure what is going on there. But it does sound like to me then it is COVID. So Keenan Allen, we saw him trot out last week. He was questionable all day with his hamstring injury and let people down. He was out there as a decoy. With him being doubtful at this stage of the day, even if he goes, it is a no from me. I'm not taking that gamble in week 16. He's bunged up. He'll be out there as a decoy. So, no, I am not rolling the dice with him. And I'm guessing by both of your reactions to that, you're not either.
Nope. No. It's a trap.
Yeah, you've got much better options in like Johnson or even Williams. I think Eckler could be due a big day here, especially with Keenan Allen out. He's a target monster there, so Herbert will be looking to get the ball to him. Herbert, we're going to start him. It's a nice matchup for him, and he will be out to just solidify his place as the offensive rookie of the year. Eckler, I'm starting. Obviously, Hunter Henry is out for this one. Down the side of the ball, Drew Lock. It's a nice matchup for him. It could be a little bit of a shootout, this one. Are we starting Drew Lock, Adil?
I wouldn't be. No.
Wouldn't be?
No. Even though it's a plus matchup for the Chargers, against the Chargers, I think you're going to be finding guys elsewhere to be trying to get you that title.
In 3 of my leagues, Jalen Hurts is still on the waivers.
Yeah, get him and plug him.
If he's there, or trying to think who else is playing today. I'd probably have over Drew Lock a fair few players, to be honest. I don't think I'd start
even Trubisky.
Yeah, Trubisky. I'd start Trubisky.
Exactly.
They
And
can do a lot.
Trubisky is going to be available in what, 80-90% of leagues, 95.
Yeah, which
Fair
means there's the knock-on effect there for the wide receiver and the tight end positions in Denver. So wide receiver it's quite a poor matchup for them. I think Tim Patrick's the only one that I'd consider, and that is a desperation start. That's a flex at best. But tight end Noah Fant, I think he's the only starter that I've got there out of them. So Noah Fant, Melvin Gordon at the Denver Broncos, and then we are going to go for Herbert, Eckler, and Tyron Johnson, and maybe Mike Williams on the Chargers side of the ball there.
Guyton got any appeal? He likes a deep one now and again.
He does, but again, DFS maybe, but I'm not relying on it in fantasy.
I will say Noah Fant is top 3 tight end for me this week, so I've got high hopes for him in this game.
Yeah. Okay, we've got a question from OJ Olds. Based on the Cleveland situation, 1 point PPR flex, Kareem Hunt or Chris Carson? Kareem Hunt for me.
Yeah,
PPR.
Kareem Hunt for me.
PPR is going to get a lot of receiving work today with those wide receivers out.
I think so. Yeah, actually, that'll be the one.
So I think Cleveland's game plan is going to be run the ball, and they're going to split carries between Chubb and Hunt. And when Hunt isn't carrying the ball, he will be lined up in the slot maybe to get in those receiving work. So yeah, definitely Hunt over Carson. Okay, next up we have got a NFC West divisional matchup, and it is the Rams and the Seahawks. Now, the Rams have been dominating this matchup of late, but it is in Seattle, which certainly could change things around. Cam Akers, as we've already mentioned, is out with an ankle injury for the Rams in this one. And for Seahawks, it's not too fancy relevant, but DJ Dallas is out with an ankle injury for the Seahawks there. On paper, this one looks like you should start every Rams receiving option. So you should be starting Cooper Kupp, Bobby Trees, and you should be starting Jared Goff as well. But we saw earlier on in the season in the reverse matchup that it wasn't that didn't really play out. They all stank, and I am. But they're going to have to rely on the receiving game with Cam Akers being out. So can we start Jared Goff in this one, Adol?
I don't trust Jared Goff's capability as a quarterback. Never mind his capability as a fantasy winning championship man. I think he is going to be a major problem for the Rams kind of franchise going forwards because they've got a lot of money tied up in him. Like, I'm not starting him today, and I'm not. It's quite bad for the Rams because I don't rate him as a player, unfortunately.
No, and that obviously then has a knock-on effect on Cooper Kupp, on Robert Woods, who have both got great matchups here, but I'm really struggling to start either of them again. Both we spoke about them in the preseason as being top options here, but both I am really struggling unless we've got better options because it is just too unpredictable.
I'm starting Bobby Trees. Definitely.
Okay, and then we look at the Seattle side of things, and this is tough matchups all around. It couldn't be a worse matchup for Russell Wilson, who has not been putting up too many fantasy numbers as of late. It's a tough matchup for the running backs, and it is a tough matchup for the wide receivers as well. DK Metcalf, I am starting him. He didn't have a good game against Jalen Ramsey at all earlier on in the season, but I do believe that we've got to start him because he's got that big playability. Not starting Lockett. Here's quite a controversial question. What about Russell Wilson? Are we starting Russell Wilson?
I'm not starting a single Seahawks player.
Yeah, even benching DK.
I love DK. I'm not starting in this game. I'm going with my better options. I'm going for my high upside options on the bench. It's the finals. You've got to throw everything at it.
Yeah, and we've seen from previous experience that Ramsey, admittedly, he's been the only corner that's been able to slow down DK, but he did do in that last matchup. So
yeah, DK is inhuman. He is extraterrestrial. He's unbelievable. I love him. He's a beast. But he's not going to have every single game as as beast mode. There is going to be games where he struggles, and when you've got a matchup, I do believe the Rams are number one against wide receivers, certainly in some scoring. Russ is not cooking at the minute. I'm not starting a single Seahawk. I've got one matchup, one final. I'm in seven finals. I've got one matchup where I've got to start Carson because I've got no other running backs, but I'm not happy about it.
There we go. Yeah, it's tough matchups all around. So probably sound advice from you there, Rob. Okay, we have got a question from Poncho Diaz 97. Juju Smith-Schuster, T. Higgins, or Kuti? Need two. And for me, that is the latter two of the question.
Wow.
T. Higgins and Kiki Kuti. But
I assume this is a PPR aspect. Yeah, I'm still taking the other two. Latter two.
I'm taking Kuti and Juju.
Yeah, it's
unpopular opinion, but I don't know. I don't trust. I liked Higgins, but I think they've got so many problems on offense with the quarterback situation and whatnot. I'm going to take Juju just because he can have a big game.
Yeah, with Boyd out, he won't be detracting attention from Higgins on the opposite side of the field, so he could see a lot. It's not great coverage, but he could see a lot of coverage in this one.
Yeah, and I think if you've got a better quarterback under center, then you've got a chance being the wide receiver one with your running mate out injured. But when you've got, who's quarterback in there, I can't even remember. Is it Ryan Finley or someone like that, isn't it? Nah, not for me. I'll go Juju. I know Juju's been terrible, and I hate the fact that he's dancing on badges. He can bugger off with that. He's more in tune with his TikTok than he is with his top tick. But it's Juju can go off. Maybe he's had a kick up the backside the last couple of weeks, and maybe he rights some wrongs this week. You don't know.
If you look at the trend that he's had in half-point PPR, so let's go week 9 onwards. Week 10 onwards. 18 points, then 3 points, then 13 points, then 2 points, then 14 points, then 1 point. So he's kind of gone. Unfortunately for the Colts, it's
for the Steelers though. The Indianapolis are the cure for the common bad offense for the Steelers going up against the Colts. Like I said, bogey team and everything. So I don't know. I'm gonna gamble with Juju in that situation.
Cool. Okay, and then the final of the evening games is the NFC East divisional battle between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Dallas Cowboys. Eagles have an outside chance at winning the division still. They are the most unlikely of the teams to do it, but the Cowboys still in the race as well. So I think the loser, is pretty much eliminated from the race. Obviously, Eagles have the tie, which does help them that little bit, but they are 2 games behind, so they need to win both and hope that the other results go their way. Now, Richard Rodgers is the only Eagle that is really on the injury report. He is out with an ankle injury. On the Cowboys side of things, Ezekiel Elliott is probable with a calf injury, so he is expected to play, whereas Blake Bell is questionable with illness. Very vague indeed. So Zeke, we had questions very late on with Zeke last week as to whether he was going to play or not. Eventually he didn't, and Tony Pollard went off and had a big game. With him now being expected to play, obviously you don't really get a decoy in the same way that you do at the receiver position. But are we starting Zeke with any confidence, given that he's not looked as sharp and as explosive as he has done in the first few weeks of the season? What do you think, Rob? Oh, sorry, go on, Adult.
I think it gives a lot of people picked up Pollard this last week. Some picked him up prior to last week's game, just ahead of the kickoff, and that'll have a massive impact on his ability. And I think they're just going to eat into each other. I don't think Zeke's going to be out there like full bell cow. I think it's going to be like 60-40 or something like that, because Pollard has been playing well. He's got a lot of bursts, so I can see Zeke being benched this week by a lot of teams in the final. Rob?
Yep, agree. I'm not starting either of them. Can't trust it. I think they're both going to be okay, but I think you need one of them to be great in your fantasy finals. I don't think either of them are. I think they're both going to be steady.
Yeah, and if Zeke was out, I would be starting Pollard with full confidence everywhere. But with the fact that he is looking set to play some carries in this one, I'm agreeing with you. I can't really be starting either of them in this one. So with Bell being injured and the Eagles giving up quite a few points to the tight end position, is it time for Always Schultz? I'm rocking my Always Jarwin t-shirt, as we can see today. Obviously, his season ended in week 1, but are we starting Dalton Schultz with any confidence today?
Yeah, of course you are. Yeah, Dalton Schultz. Like I said earlier in the show, the tight end position in fantasy football is one that's volatile and one that, you've got your sort of 2 or 3 guys that you can roll out every week and you can trust. But other than that, it's a mind meld. You play the matchups. This is a pretty good matchup. I think Jarwin will be Jarwin. I think, rest in peace. I think Schultz will be a good start this week.
Yeah, definitely. What about the wide receiver position there? So we've seen Cooper, Lamb, Gallup go off in different weeks. It's a nice matchup for them, but I'm not sure I can really trust any of them. I think Cooper, PPR leagues, we're starting Cooper, but Lamb or Gallup are both dart throws on any given week.
It's a similar situation to the running backs, isn't it? Because they're probably all going to be involved. They're probably all going to have decent weeks. But is there one that's going to have a breakout week? Is there one that's going to win your fantasy championships? I don't know if there is. If you're happy with getting your sort of 10, 11 staple points, then fine, stick any one of them in. But if you're looking for a player that's going to win you your championship, I think there are better options. Yeah,
indeed. And Andy Dalton, I'm not rushing out to start him either. Maybe it's your second option in a Superflex league, but I will not be selecting him as a number 1. And then we look at Philadelphia. As we've already mentioned, Jalen Hurts is a nice start. It's a good matchup for him. And I think that just what he has brought to this Philadelphia offense, it's exciting. He's got that rushing upside, and I think he's going to be a championship winner for people this week. And he also helps out Miles Sanders. So Miles Sanders, great matchup for him. And I'm really looking forward to seeing him go as well with this Hurts duo. But then again, we look at the wide receiver position, and I think it's a very similar position to Dallas. I don't think the talent is quite there, but even Deshaun Jackson is in contention to play in this one. So we could have Jackson, Jeffrey, Regal, Ward, Fulgham. It's messy. There is so many options there, and we've got no idea. They're not going to roll up five wide receiver sets. So
one of them's going to have a good game. Well, one of that lot is going to have a good game, but which one is? You draw straws at that point. You write everyone's name on a straw, and then you pick them out. The shortest one is the one that you go for.
Yeah, but what I will say is the fact that we're having this conversation means that Dallas aren't going to know where to focus their coverages, which means that Jalen Hurts is going to have a good game because they've got the upper hand in this one. So all that says to me is that Jalen Hurts is going to have a decent game, and I'm not starting any of those wide receivers there. Tight end position, Richard Rodgers is out, but then it comes down to Ertz and Goddard. Goddard, I'm liking over Ertz. But again, with the amount of receiving options there available, I'm not feeling too great about it. I'd rather be starting Schultz on the other side.
I think what it is that since Ertz has come back, Goddard hasn't gone past 7 points in half-point PPR. And it's more of a situation where every single target there is eating into each other. So all of the wide receivers and tight ends are just kind of eating into each other's kind of fantasy capabilities. So
I think for me,
starting any of them.
In this game, there are 2 solid starters that I'm happy with rolling out. Jalen Hurts and Miles Sanders. They're the only 2 out of this whole game that I'm confident in. I think there's going to be other players that have good games, but I can't, nail my master I might nail my flag to the mast on any of them other than those two. And excuse my dog, by the way, he's snoring in the background if you can hear him.
So I would put third Amari Cooper and fourth Dalton Schultz.
Yeah, agree.
Okay, and then we head into Sunday Night Football. It's the Tennessee Titans at the Green Bay Packers, and this one is going to be cold. It's going to be snowy, and it's going to be windy, which, of course, makes fantasy life very, very difficult indeed. There is one obvious start in this one, and that is, of course, Derrick Henry. The very fact that it's going to be cold, Tennessee, obviously the Green Bay Packers are used to playing in the cold. Aaron Rodgers is second nature to him. But the fact that the Titans are coming in, needing to win the game against a very, very poor Russian defense, Derrick Henry is going to get 30 carries in this one. He is going to go off, and the whole game plan is going to be geared around him. Ryan Tannehill, I think he's going to take a hit because of the cold and the snow. You might get a couple of plays to Corey Davis and AJ Brown, but I'm not going to be starting them with any confidence in the snow. Johnny Smith, I know we got a question about him before, and it is now just clicked who they're playing. The very fact that they're playing the Green Bay Packers means that you're not starting Johnny Smith in this one. Green Bay have been very good against the tight end position this year. And then on the Packers side of the ball, Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams are starts, despite the fact that it's snowy and windy, just because they're used to it, and he will get the ball 8, 9, 10 times. And Aaron Jones, okay, so Jamal Williams is doubtful to play in this one with quadriceps injuries. So Aaron Jones, I am firing up. It's a nice matchup for him, and especially if this is going to be a snow game, then he is a fantastic start. And Tunyon as well. So Sternberg is out with a concussion. Tunyon would be my only other potential start. But again, the passing options, it depends how snowy it's going to be in this one. It doesn't help that it's a night game, but they are my top options there. So Rob, what are your thoughts on this one as a part-time Packers fan?
Can't believe you got it in there. Fantasy is going to be Derrick Henry versus Devonta Adams. I think the Titans are going to run the ball down the Packers' throat. So I was just looking at to see. I know obviously the Packers aren't great against the run, but I was trying to look exactly where they are, and then I just realized it doesn't matter. It's Derrick Henry. It doesn't matter who he's playing. He's matchup proof. And then they're gonna try and run the squad with Henry, and the Packers are gonna try and get back by the only way they know how to, which is throw the ball to Devonta Adams. So I think they're gonna get some good points. Rodgers is start worthy. Anyone thoughts? Anyone starting on Robert Tunyon? Not starting on him because that would be a bit harsh for him. Because
I wouldn't fancy it. I am not starting.
Nah, he's a big guy. But is anyone starting Robert Tunyon?
Yeah.
Yes, I'm starting him against you.
Great. Great. So Robert Tunion's going to go off for 100 points this week.
So looking at Green Bay's defense, they are ranked 11th in the league versus the rush. So actually surprisingly in the top half. Although it is against Derrick Henry in the cold.
They also, but on the flip side, they are giving up the 6th most fantasy points to running backs.
Yeah.
Which sucks.
So, it's quite interesting in that aspect.
Sorry, the 5th most. But yeah.
Yeah.
The Titans league points to running backs as well. So Aaron Jones could be a good little start as well. I think
Jamal Williams out.
Yeah, I think that it's going to be a good fantasy game, even though despite the weather, I think it's going to be a good fantasy game.
I do too.
The one thing about Rodgers is I remember him talking about snow games, and he says it doesn't really bother him actually snow games. I think it's like the driving rain kind of games and the very windy games, but snow itself, it doesn't bother him that much.
which is weird coming from a Californian lad, but there is a little bit of wind in this one as well, though. That is the only thing to watch out for. 14-mile-an-hour winds expected, which is we've seen worse, of course, but
Is that 14 or 40?
14, which
Oh, I thought you had 40. I was like, yeah, Jesus, that's a bit. As someone who owns about 90% of my teams have got Corey Davis in. What am I doing with Corey Davis? Someone tell me, because I'm on the fence.
I'm sitting him.
Let me just, while you chat about some more things, I'll get up my question here for you, David, because I think I might. Is it against you, Adil? Have I got?
Yeah, you've got him against me, but
I've got him in a lot of leagues. But if I just quickly flick up my roster here, so against Dilly in the one of the finals, it's a choice of Corey Davis or T. Higgins or
Tyrone Johnson.
Let's go Tyron. Yeah, I'm going Tyron on that one.
You're going Tyron. Well, I'm way behind because Dilly had. This is the league that you had.
Kamara and Jeff Wilson.
So I am way behind. So I'll screw it. Out with Davis, in with Tyron Johnson. And if I lose now, David, it's your fault.
Well, you should.
So, in my biased opinion, you should be keeping in Corey Davis.
Okay, so yeah.
Is that bluff?
Well, who knows? Who knows? But no, I'm going there. As the impartial, I'm going Tyron Johnson in that one. And then finally, we look at Monday Night Football, and that is the Buffalo Bills and the New England Patriots. Buffalo, of course, have already won this division, and they go to the Patriots, who they have won the division off. Patriots are officially eliminated from the playoff race, so this game should be a foregone conclusion. Smokey Brown for the Bills is potential to play in this one. However, with the fact that it is Monday Night Football and your options will be very, very limited if he doesn't, I am sitting him from your matchups. And then for the New England Patriots, Moncrief is questionable. Nick Folk is questionable, as he is every single week. And Damian Harris is questionable with an ankle injury as well. So Stephon Diggs, Cole Beasley, I'm starting, which means that I'm starting Josh Allen, of course. They are the three Bills that I'm starting. The age-old question, Devin Singletary or Zach Moss. Adil, are you starting either of them?
No.
Rob, how about yourself?
No, not really. Not if I can help it.
No, and then tight end position is not great. New England not giving up too many points to the tight end position, and is it Dawson Knox, Tyler Croft?
Yeah,
one of them was a healthy scratch last week. I think it was Tyler Croft.
Dawson Knox had a good game last game, I believe, because I was one of these that I had a lot of sort of dynasty stock in Dawson Knox, but it's been pretty quiet. And I think last week he had a good week, or maybe the week before.
And then for the New England Patriots, Cam Newton, many are saying, let's give Jarrett Stidham a go. So it could be that we don't even see a full game of Cam Newton in this one. Damian Harris is questionable, so that's making me not want to play him. And then at the receiver and the tight end position, I don't think there's any startable New England Patriots in this one.
There is zero startable Patriots.
Yeah,
not for your fantasy finals.
Not for your fantasy finals, which does mean that the Bills DST will be a nice play as well. But I think this will just be a go in, get the job done, and I don't think the Bills will really care what the score is in this one. They'll just want to get the win on the board and get out of New England again. So I'd temper your expectations of the Bills, because I think they'll just do what they need to do to win, rather than showboat as the... What was the game yesterday?
Oh, the Tampa Bay one. No,
Tampa Bay.
So somebody messaged me, and it seemed like those wide receivers were padding their stats for the season. They knew that. So if anybody follows me on Twitter, I am against Mike Evans in the other championship game that I'm in, so not the one against Rob. And I was screaming, why are they keeping Evans in the game? Because I had Godwin, they had Evans, and Evans just stayed on the field and kept on getting more and more and more and more.
Yeah, they wanted 1,000 yards for him, didn't they? That's that's what they wanted for him. Well, he's still got 2 games to get it. Sorry, 1 game to get it. But yeah, they want Mike Evans to get 1,000 yards. Okay, and just before we sign out, we've got one final question come through, and that is Alan Robinson or Robert Woods from Coal Kids 31. And for me, that is Alan Robinson.
Alan Robinson.
Unanimous. That's what we like to hear. Okay,
Right.
Start Alan
One more
Robinson.
question from me. One more question from me, please, David. Start 2 wide receivers: Corey Davis, T.Y. Hilton, Jerry Jeudy, Michael Pittman. End of list. Start 2.
The first 2.
Corey Davis and Eugene.
Cool. Yeah, because we're not going to start Ty and Pittman. So yeah, Ty and Corey Davis.
I'm saying. Can you repeat the list again? Rob?
Corey Davis, Eugene Hilton, Jerry Jeudy, Michael Pittman. This game is for $1,000, by the way.
That's a fair old whack.
Thanks to I've got. So this is my starting lineup: Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Jones, David Montgomery, Cooper Kupp, Bears DST, Rodrigo Blankenship, and the question mark. And I've got Schultz at tight end. So the question marks are it's Corey Davis, T.Y. Hilton.
So and half point PPR.
Yes.
Okay.
Half.
So looking at Jerry Jeudy, he has broken 10 points twice this season, and he hasn't done that since week 9.
Yeah, Jerry Jeudy is off the table.
So is not on the table.
So the question is then Michael Pittman or T.Y. Hilton, basically, because you're not going to start both of them, are you?
Then, so looking at our receivers, I'm going full home bias. Ty is probably the only. Yeah, I would say.
Yeah, I think I'm set on Ty. So that's that. So then the last question, and I'll leave it at this. I'm not going to drag it on any longer. Dalton Schultz or Hayden Hurst.
Hashtag always Schultz.
Company man. Got to stick with the company, haven't we?
Yeah, exactly. Well, best of luck in that one, Rob. That's
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a tough. I started 0-4 in that league, and I'm in the final for $1,000. So it's been a good one.
Yikes. Okay, let's get out of here. So thank you very much for listening. Adil, where can we find you on Twitter?
I can be found at Dillytoon. I believe it's not showing up, but at DILLYTOON.
Wonderful. And Rob, how about yourself?
At FF Britballer, BRATBALLER.
Perfect. And I can be found at Dav_F10Y. So, gentlemen, this is the final preview show of the season. We will be continuing. Well, we'll have the Week 16 roundup early next week. We will also have a season roundup, and we'll have some DFS stuff going into the playoffs as well. So this is not us signing off for the season. We will catch up with you early next week. Keep those hashtag I've peeled, as Adil is saying to you. So everybody, and yes, Colts and always Jarwin, yes. But however you're playing fantasy this weekend, we wish you the best of luck. We hope that the advice that we have given you today will help you over the line in those all-important championship matchups. So thank you very much for listening and watching. And remember, folks, keep those eyes peeled.
You've been listening to the Full 10 Yards Fantasy Podcast. You can find us on Twitter at F10Y Fantasy and over on our website www.full10yards.com, where we cater to all of your American football needs, from NFL general, fantasy football, college football, and even Britball. Thanks for listening, and remember, folks, keep those eyes peeled.